Comentando jogos clássicos, sétima rodada do Pro Tour, 25 anos de aniversário do Magic, né? Esse Pro Tour foi em 2018. Ele é um Pro Tour muito único, porque ele tem 3 formatos. Ele é Legacy, Modern e Standard, e é trios, então cada jogador joga o seu formato. E a gente vai aqui pra mesa que está, ambos os trios estão 6-0. De um lado, 3 jogadores conhecidos e com vários torneios, que é Josh Utter-Leyton, Ben Stark e Martin Juza, né? Vários aqui são jogadores profissionais, Hall da Fama, etc. Do outro, 3 jogadores galgando o seu lugar ainda, que é o Sukenik, o Nagro e o Cochran. Nesse momento a gente vai ver a partida então aqui de KCI do Ben Stark contra o Nagro de BR VG, que vem sendo um deck bem surpresa. Ele foi um deck que surpreendeu bastante nesse torneio, já que ele tem algumas mãos mega explosivas, né? Ele não é tão oco style, é muito mais um deck. Ele é rápido, mas ele tem uma certa consistência que não, é explosão pura, tanto que tem Goblin Bushwaker para permitir esse tipo de game.
Most cards in the Ironworks deck are actually interested in going to the graveyard, because that's how you generate your value. And one thing I wanted to mention, it's more like a general observation, but I think the times of dredge are over, where you rely on your graveyard to be full and producing value turn after turn. We are seeing decks that only need the graveyard for 1 or 2 turns, and then they've generated so much advantage that even a rest in peace doesn't matter anymore. And we actually saw that
Nagro vai desenvolver.
Turn to rest in peace, not enough to stop.
Já deu aquela agilizada, 3 zumbizinhos aqui de bobeira, né? Ebride. E assim, é um plano muito bom contra ACI você meter pressão. Não precisa necessariamente ficar jogando descarte, counterando coisas. Faz pressão e vê ele se debater sozinho. É um bom plano.
He's passed the turn, has Ben Stark, and now Jacob gets to cleanly attack for 6, but oh boy, he's already in the tank for some reason. What's going on here?
Well, they're actually two
eu não sei porque ele tá pensando tanto. É tipo, dá pra ele fazer Bushwaker, tá ligado? Tipo, ele bate 8 e depois ele bate 10. Parece bem razoável. Porque ele pode estar pensando, pô, posso esperar mais um pouco, fazer um ataque maior, mas... Bom ataque.
Triggering the bridges, of course. Really nice combo with the Vengevine in the graveyard. I think Nagro drew that after the Faithless Looting, probably.
He does have his 3rd land here, and he's going
to
flashback Faithless Looting, choosing to potentially set himself up for future.
É realmente mais interessante.
Add his maximum to the board right now. We're going to see a Vengevine and a land hit the board, but he still gets the crunch for 6.
Partially, he wasn't thinking about what to do this turn. He was mapping out how many turns he needs to win the game. He was just counting up to 20 and figuring out which
Ben Stark vai ver se ele acha as peças dele, né? Ele tem um KCI ali, não sei se ele já vai pegar. E provavelmente ele vai combar no limite. O Marina Boy só conheço o Ben Stark por causa dos artigos dele. Ele é um grande mestre do Limited. Tem umas polêmicas na carreira dele, mas ele é um grande mestre do Limited. Não tenho saudade nenhuma, a carta broken da desgraça. Looting era foda. Pô, ele pegou a KCI. Ver se ele vai perder lane de drop ou não. Imagino eu que não. Dependendo, eu acho que o Ben Stark consegue combar na volta. Tyrings, dando vida para o adversário, que não importa. Explosivos fabricados, é uma ótima carta.
Bushwaker kicked. Get Vengevine back. Trigger resolves. Everybody +1/+0. And haste. And suddenly we have... I think 16 damage. It's definitely a lethal attack waiting there for Stark.
Os caras estão fazendo as contas ali, pelo jeito o Nagro já consegue ter letal, porque mesmo se ele não comprar terreno, ele tem 2 Bushwhackers na mão, ele faz um, aí ele faz o segundo, ele dá 2, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16, ele dá letal. No vácuo, looting era média, mas no jogo era... não, é porque esse é o ponto. Tinha muito deck que ignorava o descartar dela, tá ligado? Então era uma mana compra 2.
the sideboard.
Pra decks vermelhos.
The KCI deck
Quando
is
mid-ranges começaram a fazer isso, você sabe que deu ruim.
You're trying to stop your opponent from keeping you from comboing off. You're not really interacting with it.
Now, there is another piece of interaction. You see one on the battlefield here, an engineered explosives for Ben Stark, and that will allow him to take care of both of those zombie tokens, which does take care of, 6 damage on this board.
E aí com esses explosivos, do letal não existe mais.
I think that means Ben can actually stay alive here.
He can. He will lose his Mox Opal, though.
That is annoying. Now, he might have another one in his
Mas acho que mesmo assim é uma ótima linha de combo. Pirinho, Berker. Blá, 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 blá.
There we go. It was actually insolent. Neonate into kicked Bushwhacker. Trigger the Vengevine. It comes back. That's on cast, so that trigger resolves. Then you can have the Bushwhacker trigger resolve as well.
Destrói 0, dá 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Still a ton of damage here.
Yeah,
E paulada.
Just forcing the explosives to be sacrificed.
Is he knocking him down to 2? Yeah, he is. So, 2 life. This is a turn. Ben Stark needs to go off here. Realistically, under any other scenario, he's just dead.
Does he have a scrap trawler to go with the Ironworks? He might get there.
Well, there's the Ironworks.
Assim, não tem terreno artefato.
This could be really close.
Sacrifice an Ichor Wellspring, get 2 mana, draw a card.
Oh.
Can you do anything else, Ben? He's already played his land for the turn.
Então,
Terrarian?
fica 2.
+1 mana, plus a card.
That's a star.
Same thing.
Cada pedrinha dessa é relativamente boa, gerando vantagem.
He needs to generate a bit more mana.
Certo?
He doesn't have a
Certo.
Citadel
Draw.
amazing here.
Tem Mirzinho que volta coisa.
Retriever, I believe.
Might also be able to do it with Mer Retriever.
Well, he doesn't have a choice but to go for it here. He is facing lethal damage in multiple ways and doesn't really have the resources to take care of it.
I think
Scrap.
the key piece is actually the Mox.
Fica 2, ele não vai comprar carta, mas vai voltar coisa.
And it generates 3 mana every time you recycle it.
So he's going to sacrifice. Is he going to actually be able to go off here, Simon? He just got back the Mox Opal.
I think it's almost deterministic at this point because he has the Mirror Retriever already. That's just so much value generated by Scrap Trawler.
I mean, that is the combo, right?
Pra 2, volta 2 cartas.
There's a chromatic.
Possível que esse cara vai combar, velho.
Oh man. Jacob Nagro had a very good draw here, and it seems as if Ben may be able to just bypass it. He's getting back 2 cards thanks to Retriever plus the Scrap Trawler trigger.
Outro scrap.
Replays.
Ele já tá falando, tô fazendo loop.
I've got the pieces to do this repeatedly, generate mana and draw cards.
Yeah, once you have the second Scrap Trawler, it's actually.
Caralho, o moleque falou pra ele mesmo. Comba aí, fera. Comba aí. Ele tá falando, ó, combei, tá? Ele falou, não, comba aí, da hora, comba aí. O Ben Stark, porra, o moleque vai fazer combar mesmo? Vai, comba aí. Quero saber como é que o deck funciona, comba aí. Tá, tem mais bom perito. Fala, não, beleza, vai, foda-se. Fechou. E aí vamos para a mesa T2. Mirror de BR pela enésima vez. E os pro players estão já 1-0 tudo. Cara, pior que esses moleques, eles estão representando uma loja de Nova York. Eu tenho quase certeza que essa loja patrocina torneio no Arena. Eu já vi esse nome.
He's such a nice
dude. Yeah, you just think like, oh, that guy's cool. I like him. And then he sits down and just dismantles you, and you're like, oh, wait, I thought you were nice. And he's like, hey, you want to go get some food?
He's still nice.
I know. It's like, how do you have both? But that's just how he is. We're currently watching Hunter Cochran
Tá mandando you go, basicamente.
on our standard table, so you can see that this is red black for
Yanalar.
There's been a lot of red black aggro for the choices for standard for our teams. Uh-oh, is this a missed land drop perhaps from Hunter?
Yes, and Cochran must have had a pretty bad game one already, losing so quickly in the mirror match.
Right, that did go very quickly.
Barata, vai.
That's also nice by Juza not exposing something like a Phoenix or a Chandra to a potential removal spell by Cochran, but just saying, here's another Scrounger, you're under so much pressure, you have to show me something.
He's gonna miss another land drop and only play a scrappy.
Vai limpando. O Martins já falou, velho, não tem porra nenhuma, bora. Ele pode só pumpar os artefatos dele. Fica 5, 6, 7, 8.
Almost over. If Martin plays a big spell here and Hunter misses his land drop, we're done. We may well be done even if that doesn't happen. And there's the big spell here for Martin Juza. Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
Ah, causou 2, Tlau. Não, uma derrota de Chandra ainda nessa Chandra, tipo. Mas é muita vantagem.
And if he misses his land here, it's over. And even if he doesn't, it might be.
Yeah, and when your opponent is spending Chandra's defeat on his Soul Scar Mage, plusing Chandra attacking with everything in the face of a Scrap Heap Scrounger, you know things are not going great.
Right. Hunter with, as you might imagine, quite a strong hand, a pair of Chain Whirlers, a Chandra...
Os caras chamam Hunter. Derrota de Chandra. Pode descartar pra.
He gets to use the ability here, doesn't he?
Yep. See if he remembers.
He does. Going to get rid of one of his expensive spells again, just trying to make sure he keeps hitting his land drops. But the real question is it just simply too late here for Hunter Cochran? He's got another copy of Chandra's Defeat to kill Pia Nalar and reduce it down to just 4 damage. Now, if
Hunter começou a desenvolver o game, mas tipo, tá muito atrasado, velho.
Says, oh, I've got this though, and that's going to be the game. Martin Juza secures the first match win for this round.
Então, 1-0 pro time do Martin Juza. Os caras já estão indo ali sentar em outra mesa e tal. Aí foi de base. Vai pro Legacy, né? Que tá o B-Shadow contra Glisses Delver. São decks parecidos até, no jeito de jogar. Usam realmente com... trabalham com pouco recurso, só que no jogo longo ali as criaturas ficam maiores.
Josh has the Wasteland and what is that? A third of the total mana producing colored mana producing lands here for Sukenik in the yard?
I was going to mention that 7 mana producing.
Não curte usar a camisa do time que cai bem nele, só usam X e EG? Ah, sei lá, às vezes a galera gosta de usar mais largo. É uma ótima pergunta, tá ligado? E as camisas também são feias por bosta, normalmente, né? Eu gosto de usar camisa muito larga, então quem sou eu para julgar?
Saving your land from Wasteland. Sukenik could have actually dazed his own Brainstorm just to save that land. Ultimately, found a fetch land though. Otherwise, he would have been out of the game.
He's also going to play Ponder, probably still just scrapping to try to keep his mana base intact. And I was right. We hear Jonathan say, all I'm trying to do is hit my land drops. And of course, you know, it is worth noting here that while Josh, it feels like he's being proactive by being the one who's doing the wastelanding, you know, he hasn't done anything on his side either.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that advantage bar, and then you see a player with 2 wastelands in the graveyard, nothing else. But it is a sizable advantage.
It is.
You, because you're the one that's deciding what's happening on the battlefield, or what's not happening.
O name é lento, mas é ridiculamente forte. A gente já viu o Sukenik jogando, né? Tem Gurmag no deck dele, o Gurmag é bem interessante nessa match. Tudo bem que o B-Shadow ele tem maneiras melhores de lidar com criaturas. Quanto o Temur ali tava foda. História Fat, embaralho. Da Ponder, embaralho. Baralho. É muito tempo sem game desenvolver, tá ligado? Isso é muito chato, velho.
Death Shadow off the top, but are there more lands here for Josh?
Yeah, he has at least one color mana producing land.
Okay.
Tirando a mão do Utter-Leyton, então tem Death Shadow, tem Delver, tem Hit Tourash, 2 Brainstorm, o Denial. Uma boa mão.
Your eyes do not deceive you. We are in Legacy, but since Death Shadow is such a key part of this deck, they're running Watery Grave.
Yeah, Death Shadow picking up some steam in Legacy. Quite unusual to see Watery Grave and the other Ravnica lands, but here they are.
Nada draw.
Perfect for the job. Sukenik with a clutch draw.
That Underground Sea there?
Inquisição.
Yeah. And he's going to be proactive now and say,
Não exatamente a mão mais fácil de descartar, não. Death Shadow é ok, mas tem mais de uma. Hit Tourash precisa achar um terreno, Brainstorm, Denial. Talvez Brainstorm pra tentar cortar o efeito ali. Ou o Hit Tourash pra que não tenha interação do outro lado. Faz sentido, apesar que tem bastante counter aqui.
The extra cards when they have double Brainstorm. And there are two ways to approach this hand. You can say, I can worry about Death Shadow later, because it's definitely not coming down very soon. Alternatively, you can also say, I need to deal with every single Death Shadow to win.
Então Death Shadow, tá.
By the way, of note here, Simon, he actually Sukenik used Days last turn to pick up that Underground Sea.
I thought he drew another one, but he must have shuffled his cards.
Yeah, I think he just shuffled them very quickly. Yeah, he used it on, I believe, that Delver, and now got to replay it. Here's Brainstorm. That is Josh Utter-Leyton's favorite artwork right there. In fact, he had a token made of him once, and he had his face transposed onto that Brainstorm artwork.
Easy mesmo pra tentar. Draw.
Shocking to see him use anything other than that.
E vai.
And boy, this Underground Sea is getting
O Gourmag aqui é muito bom.
3 land drops out of the same land.
Yep. And Days goes both directions here, right? You know, sometimes you see wasteland you to make my days better, but if you're the one doing the wastelanding, you're also more susceptible to Days, and we've seen Sukenik be the one to take advantage of that. Jonathan just seems so comfortable with his stack. Let's see if he's got another Days. He's got a response, but it looks like it's a Brainstorm rather than the Days. And this card can be very problematic, Urmag Angler.
Ou achou Fetch, achou Delver. Vou deixar Bolt. Fazer Delver na volta. E da Daisy. Olha o texto desse lane.
It's a risk you have to take. There might be a Daze, but if that's the case, then that's how it is.
And you hear him, by the way, consulting with his teammates now.
E full.
Ooh, he's going to exile a True Name Nemesis to the Force of Will.
Stuck on one land. Two lands already in the graveyard.
Yeah, that's true. He's got a Misty Rainforest in his hand.
Pegou outro True Name, consegue fazer Delver.
On top of the library anyway.
Bolt no topo.
He's got a Delver of Secrets. So once again, Jonathan Sukenik navigating this game beautifully.
Horrível a leitura. Não, era muito ruim, era muito ruim. A da Fold também é bizarro. Não pode redirecionar esse dano, não pode fazer tal coisa.
There's also the really interesting part of how much damage do you want to deal to the Death Shadow player.
Sure.
We know from Modern that the best way to beat a Death Shadow player is to attack for a lot of damage in a single turn, rather than chipping away for 2 or 3. And the Delver deck, that's actually how it wins, chipping away for 3 and 3 and 3.
And for example, Josh does have a copy of Death Shadow in his hand, and
one of them was taken by the Inquisition, so that shows you how much Sukenik respects the Death Shadow.
As regras evoluíram. Não só as regras evoluíram, né? Os textos também das cartas evoluíram muito. Você não tem mais que explicar algumas coisas. Tanto que a gente estranha quando vê um texto enorme. Oxi. Ele pode dar Spell Pierce.
Go for Fatal Push on the Delver before it even gets a chance to get rolling.
It's super interesting to me how we saw Sukenik.
Falando ali com a galera, o Sukenik, né, pensando, pô, e aí, eu dou o Spell Pierce, não dou? Tudo isso.
Here
Isso
you see
também.
the opposite.
Tindo.
Death Shadow is such a supreme threat.
Que porra, tá foda, né, galera? É embaçado.
And know that his Death Shadow will ultimately win.
Super interesting here as well, because the fact that they're talking, I bet you Ben Stark has realized that it's probably a card like Spell Pierce that they could be facing down, and Jonathan does not want to use his fetch land here. It looks like
imagino que ele vai estourar
he
essa
cast
fetch.
a Spell Pierce, so he's just going to let that happen.
I'm going to be very careful with my phrasing here, but I'm not sure if Sukenik is actually getting a lot of help by his teammates communicating with him.
You were very impressed with how he played a couple of rounds ago when we had him in the feature.
I've lost a little bit of that feeling of flow and confidence that he was demonstrating earlier.
Okay.
Vai tomar 3 pra fazer já Death Shadow. Que daí pro Sukenik é muito bom, porque ele tem um Bolt no topo, o Bolt só vem, ele só mata, tu tem que dar o Pierce Up. Daí ele vai ter lidado com 2 Death Shadows, é. Vai acontecer.
What you're exposing.
So what did Josh actually get his life total down to here? Assuming he's not at 12.
It would surprise me if Josh allows this exchange. That's, at least in Modern, that's not a play you would make.
No.
Allowing your Death Shadow to be lightning bolted. What you want to be on.
Putz, sem novidades. Tem outros True Names na mão do Cooking. Ele tem como evoluir bem esse game.
He left it available. I'm surprised.
Maybe Utter-Leyton has a reanimate. That would make a lot of sense.
Oh, sure. There's the Hymn to Turok. Spell Pierce to take care of that. Pass the turn back. And Sukenik, there we go. Land off the top of the library means True Name Nemesis.
True Name. Pode chamar que ele veio.
And that is the best creature in the matchup.
And Sukenik knows what he got away with there.
He needed to hit that land.
He bolted a Death Shadow. He Spell Pierced him, even though the Spell Pierce was kind of open. Then he resolved the True Name Nemesis. He even has a Wasteland in play.
He's got to be happy. And he needs it too, because if you look at our game count down below, Juza's already won his match.
E o bom do True Name Nemesis é que assim, eles estavam falando de um dilema de jogar contra Death Shadow. Normalmente você tem que fazer um ataque grande pra acabar com o jogo, tá ligado? Porque se você ficar bicando, o cara começa a ganhar de você na race, porque é Death Shadow. E o True Name ele é muito interessante, porque ele pode ficar bicando, aí quando o cara fizer o Death Shadow, você fica pra trás. E aí o Death Shadow não passa.
He was falling quite far behind there, but
Tristram.
Josh gave him an opening and he just had the right cards at the right moment, playing off the top almost. But that's just what you have to play for, and then it's absolutely correct to just play it as aggressively as possible. Just test your opponent there.
That is Martin Juza back in the shadows, right behind Ben Stark, though. As we've seen them chat with each other, they haven't. It was that the reanimation.
Animou Death Shadow, ótima jogada.
Okay. Maybe give Jonathan a little bit of pause here about whether he can actually race at this point. But yeah, they've been basically leaving Josh alone as far as actually stepping in.
Which I think is absolutely correct. Josh is such a...
Bitter Blossom, isso daí é tecnologia.
Just looking so far ahead that you don't need to
O Death Shadow é um pesadelo.
When he's smiling, he's thinking about things that we haven't even seen yet.
Exactly. Here's Bitter Blossom now for Jonathan Sukenik. And you gotta feel like it's going to be hard for Josh to win this game from this point. Jonathan has a nearly unbeatable True Name Nemesis down on the ground to block or start attacking when he feels it needed, and then he could just
Delver flipou.
Huge advantage from this Bitter Blossom without even spending another mana.
Bitter Blossom in combination with True Name Nemesis, that is almost unbeatable, even for...
No ter vermelho, ele perde Temur, bateu Rage. Opa, peraí. Eu também adoro Temur, bateu Rage. Também gosto muito da carta.
You know how you can beat Bitter Blossom though? You wait until it kills the controller.
It's true. If you can apply pressure to them, it does help you win a race. But Boy, it is tough to get through those fairy tokens. Josh has one window to do so with this Delver of Secrets that's been transformed.
Não, Bitter Blossom foi. E é muito bom aqui, tipo. É muito difícil pro B bater essa carta.
Yeah, Josh needs at least a second Death Shadow. Maybe a Gurmag Angler.
Primeiro que assim, tá 1-0 pro Josh Utter-Leyton. O trio dele está 1-0, então se ele ganhar, acaba aqui, o trio fica 7-0 no torneio. Mas vai ter uma hora que essas fadas vão bater letal, ou vai ter fada suficiente pra bloquear e...
Boy, and his draws have been nice too.
He actually enabled, with that Bitter Blossom, he enabled that line of being able to win in...
Gosto de usar Bitter Blossom nos meus Commander Super Friends. Não, Bitter Blossom é uma carta que eu gosto muito, assim. Eu cheguei a usar na época do BG, antes de Linger e Souls, eu cheguei a... Eu lembro dessa carta. Ou foi depois, não lembro. Eu lembro que eu já cheguei, tipo, a inscrever essa carta em torneios. Ato Pacote era outro que era figurinha carimbada nesse tipo de estratégia. E assim, nesses jogos grind, é muito chato jogar contra ele. O primeiro torneio que eu joguei de UB Fadas, faz um tempinho.
And then you can start attacking because your true name nemesis is not getting killed in game 1.
I got my approval, so I'm allowed.
Oh, this is not game 1, this is game 2.
That's true. He does have Bitter Blossom in the main,
but this means that even if Josh brought in ways to deal with true name nemesis, the 1/1 tokens are still going to dominate this board.
And additional to that, a lot of the ways that people bring in to deal with true name nemesis, that 1/1 tokens.
E vai, isso que pode ficar enrolando bastante.
Things like that. Yeah, this one looks like it's fully slipped away from Josh here. He's
Bitter Blossom com contaminação no Commander dói muito, imagina.
Does have a Death Shadow and an Insectal Aberration, but he's facing down simply better cards at both positions. A Bitter Blossom that's going to eventually overwhelm the Insectal Aberration, and the True Name Nemesis, which can block the Death Shadow indefinitely, and when he decides, just attack right past it.
He does have a single Engineered Explosive.
Okay, that could help.
Liliana would be good. It's probably too late now. Would have been good earlier.
Delver seria bom também. E o True Names começou a bater. Quando o True Names começa a bater numa situação dessa, cara, você sabe que você tá bem ferrado.
As well he should. Now he's going to start attacking, and in just a few short turns, he's going to even things up against Josh Utter-Leyton. Josh finds a Brainstorm, but that might be too little too late. His lack of lands really hurting him here. Of course, it was a forced lack of lands, but it works. You can see Martin's taking a more relaxed pose behind Ben there. Ben's still into it.
That's because Ben is the modern player, so he's closer to Legacy. When you're the standard player, you have nothing to say.
And
there's another day's getting value for Jonathan. Josh Utter-Leyton down to 7, so Jonathan can attack again for 3. And then an attack with that, plus any other damage is game.
Eu devo embaralhar com tamanha facilidade, me lembro que eu preciso de sleeves novos. É importante. Sleeves novos quebram baita galho nessas horas.
Josh is going to attack with Death Shadow. That's going to prompt a chump block from Jonathan, who's going to fall down to 8 thanks to Bitter Blossom.
End. Bater mais 3 e na volta tem letal, basicamente.
Immediately take down the Underground Sea attack.
Mas as sleeves novos são sempre bons, cara. Eu também preciso deixar um guardadinho ali pra depois.
Just reveal that wasteland off the top.
I love it. And this is Josh Utter-Leyton putting that Insectal Aberration back on the other side because he's conceding this game. And that means that we're all evened up here on table A. That is our legacy table. But I gotta say, even
E vamos para mais um.
For Jonathan, very
Aparentemente para o Modern. Pera aí que eu preciso ver como é que esse cara fez essa merda. Choque e tal, beleza. Essa mesa tá 1-0, né, pro Stark.
It's still quite baffling how Stark stole this game.
Essa interação é muito bizarra, velho. Mandou 2 bichos pra 0. E 6 de poder turno 1, vai. Top.
To discard bridge triggers, gets him a 2/2. Then he casts Walking Ballista and Hangerback Walker for 0 each. They immediately die, trigger the bridge, turn 1, 6 power, your move. Unbelievable.
Brau. Vocês. De buenas. O quem não quer nada.
What does Nagro have now?
É muito engraçado quando esse tipo de deck fica muito bom, tá ligado? Esses decks, tipo, na 1 você bate uma cacetada, na 2 outra cacetada.
Boy, this deck is explosive, Simon. We've seen this kind of a few too many. Like, isn't it supposed to have draws where it doesn't do anything? Is that not part of the deal?
It feels a little bit like Hollow One with less randomness.
Yes.
Right? I don't know if it always like this, but there are enough moving pieces to this that you will usually have something that works similar. And this Bushwhacker, every time you draw a Bushwhacker in this deck, it's just so good.
Yeah, ends the game a lot of the time.
E dali, vamos ver o que ele acha.
It's gonna be
4, 5 terrenos, basicamente. Se bem que tem terreno ganhando de vida, né? Ainda que tenha 8 de dano vindo do outro lado.
But it felt like he wasn't going to get there until he did. But boy, how is he going to beat 6 power on turn 1 on the play too?
Only with the turn 3 win, I think, or some way to survive. Engineered explosives come to mind.
That's right. That is actually what bought him the 1 additional turn he needed in game number 1. So perhaps he could find something like that again.
E vai.
For now, though, it's Inventor's Fair. Go. Combat 2, 4, 6, 8.
6.
Knock you down to 6.
Outro.
Gravecrawler,
E
go.
vai.
So he's got lethal on
0
the
interação.
even through a block.
Just Little.
And now
Tem
it's
Retriever,
on
tem
Stark.
Trawler, tem cor, mas não tem KCI.
Away some of these zombies or we're done here.
I don't see a Cochran Ironworks in his hand, and that is a piece you definitely need. All the scrap drawers in the world don't do much if you cannot sacrifice your artifacts.
Textura pra comprar. 2 manas. Eu acho que vai ter game 3 aqui mesmo. Essa barrinha de vantagem tá sendo muito legal com o Ben Stark.
What can he even do though if this is what he's spending his mana on? Because if he doesn't have the Ironworks, then the rest of the stuff just doesn't happen.
Marshall, I think the most valuable thing is he
E
can
morreu.
pretend that there is still something,
Yeah.
so that
E vamos de
Nagro
G3.
is to this.
Pergunta só é de qual
But in
formato.
fact,
Ah, limbar. Aqui esse game aqui tem que ver desde o comecinho.
noticed when the Insolent Neonate hit the graveyard after having discarded the bridge from below, Jacob said, it does trigger, I'm going to get a zombie. And even though Ben wasn't 100% sure about the interaction, he said, I trust you, you've been playing this deck, you got a zombie. And there was no, that was it, you know.
Yeah, a fact that a lot of people don't
É, eu acho que dá pra pensar no keep sim, nessa. Tem KCI, tem as pedrinhas de mana e tal. Tem claim.
The more cutthroat it becomes. There's actually this point at the Pro Tour where there's this mutual respect between players, and something that is has been true for many years.
Now, I do want to emphasize here, though, that if you find yourself at a tournament and you're unclear, there is absolutely no shame in saying, Judge, can you just explain to me how this works? Don't, you know, Ben knows Jacob enough to know that he can just skip that step here, but Ben's also a professional, and he knows Jacob. If you don't know the player, just say, hey, I just want the judge to tell me how this works, just so I can be sure. There's no shame in that.
Vine, vai fazer outro bicho. 0, Vine. Uau.
And here we go.
4 batendo na 1. Abraço.
Discards Vengevine, and then we see once again Walking Ballista, no counters needed, and that brings back a Vengevine which has haste, and attacks for 4 on turn number 1. Iker Wellspring, as Ben Stark tries to set up for the turn 4 kill, he's going to need to find himself a copy of Clan Ironworks, which he has done, Simon.
Dá pra descartar uma bridge e fazer mais 2 de poder.
That was Martin Juza, by the way, saying, look, I've been testing Standard. I have not paid attention to Modern over the last 2 weeks. And
Os caras conversando, tipo, porra, mano, o deck tá passando fora do radar, assim, falou, não tem o que fazer, mano. Ninguém viu esse deck e deixa o cara bater.
You know, Ben is not pulling any punches with that, by the way. He was saying, Martin, cool. I like it that you're figuring out something with that deck, but I'm focused on he called it a goldfish deck, which is
an intricate goldfish.
He did call it that. Yeah, that's a slang term for a deck that doesn't care what the opponent's doing. It's just I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to focus on that.
Ele vai tentar descartar aqui. Pode mandar balista. 4, 12. 0. E não vai fazer outro? Não. Vai aumentar o flop, tanto assim. Quem bem tá? Mano, o cara tá me amassando, só posso assistir. O que eu faço? Sei lá, velho. Eu também não... É o Martin Juza respondendo pra ele. Eu também não sei. Não conheci o deck.
How about 12 damage?
Can he survive
4, 5, 6,
That's the
7,
question.
10. I think a Bushwhacker is 12.
I thought that he had drawn an Ancient Stirrings. Oh, he has Nature's Claim. So Ben can actually gain 4 life by killing his own Wellspring here at instant speed and maybe buy himself a whole additional turn.
And then, how do you go off? With a single Wellspring?
Oh, with just Wellspring, right.
But you need a Mox. I think this...
He does have a Sphere and a Terrarian.
Okay.
Oh, did you hear that? Hunter Cochran just said, does he have the Destroy Artifact gain 4 life?
Who has the read now?
Yeah.
Take that, Martin Juza.
É engraçado disso, tipo, quando os caras param de conversar, tipo, muito em voz baixa, já começa a ficar meio claro, assim, tipo, cara, ó, ele pode ser tal coisa, irmão. Interessante. E o artefato?
That's 3 more damage, though. I think that's actually sufficient.
So Ingot Chewer adds a 3/3 to the battlefield, but as long as there's a Goblin Bushwhacker in hand, which there is...
Ingot Chewer added a 2/2 to the battlefield.
Vai destruir de qualquer jeito, eu já compro carta, ganho uma vidinha. Bushwhacker.
Yeah, 3 more power hits the battlefield.
Oh.
Enough?
If my math is correct, the
3, 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. E morreu. E aí joga pro Legacy a responsabilidade.
And Ben says, well, what I've got there anyway looks at a force on the top of his library, but it was Jacob Nagro defeating Ben Stark after losing the first game and winning his match, which means, is this comeback actually happening for our underdog team? Because they were down.
Para o legadão. A galera faz as trocas loucas.
Is really to also prevent Sukenik from ever thinking about spell piercing.
Batendo aquele jogo mais aberto. Fault ali na Utter-Leyton. Explosivos fabricados para não perder pra Bitter Blossom. O bom assim pros caras, né, do galera mais underdog aí, é que esse cara do Legacy parece ser muito bom. Então, tipo, jogar pra ele a responsabilidade não é exatamente um problema. O Rogak fez isso aí parecer brincadeira de criança. Não, pro Rogak isso daí era suave.
There's really no downside to using Daze's alternate casting cost, which is actually the mostly used.
O Rogak nada disso importava.
If there wasn't a book on how to play Gush already, I would write it.
Would you have like a subsection on Daze? On Daze, yeah. So that was Stubborn Denial. Just pay for it, right? The good old-fashioned way to stop Jonathan from resolving a brainstorm. So Josh very much looking to maintain the advantage that he's got on board with this Delver of Secrets. He's hoping that it's going to transform soon as well. Jonathan double checking with Josh about how many cards in hand. It's 4.
And you could argue that Josh has
Ih, flipou.
too many counters in his hand.
Flipar deixa esse game bem diferente.
Sukenik to pay 1x.
Apesar de que ele tá muito mais... Pra mim ele tá numa posição bem mais control nessa match. O deck dele propõe normalmente...
It's maybe not what you want, because...
Por causa dos Gurmags e tal.
Drawn out long game, you're getting good value of your spells.
Here comes a Ponder now from Josh, which was a great one to transform the Insectal Aberration with. But he didn't see anything he liked there. Immediately puts them back on top and starts shuffling in that classic Josh Utter-Leyton fashion.
It looked like 3 lands, which is super unlikely in such a low land count deck.
Once again, Jonathan just double checking with Josh to make sure they're on the same page.
Caramba, que olha e fala... Só aproveita o passeio e o viramos passageiro da agonia. Muito fato.
Or will you? He will. He says end of turn I'll brainstorm, and Josh says you got it. Once again, Jonathan hyper aware of days. We have seen him consistently make sure that he has the ability to play around it.
If you want to be super aggressive here, you can actually daze the brainstorm to force the fetch land. But that is, of course, card disadvantage.
Yeah. But that does make the brainstorm worse as well, right?
It's all situation dependent. In Legacy, you cannot have these hard and fast rules. Always cast your brainstorm at this point. Because it's so much different when there's a Delver on the other side, as opposed to just board parity.
Você tá pensando realmente?
Your opponent has already cast the daze or not.
Em algum momento ele pensou.
Josh has a card that we don't see that often, but pretty powerful. He's got a Snuff Out in his hand as well, which is another way that he can fight the low mana fight and still keep a threat off the board here for Sukenik potentially.
Can also be a really surprising pump effect on your Death Shadow.
That's a big swing too.
Ele tem Gurmag. Porque assim, Gurmag é bom, tal, etc, mas por causa do Death Shadow fica um pouco mais complicado.
I honestly thought this thing was in the books, that they just got rushed early before we even blinked. Juza won his match. Yep. The other 2 had won their first game. It's just like, well, they're 15% from here or something. And then it was win. Now they're even on matches, and all of a sudden it's a game 3 that decides the whole thing.
And we really saw how favored the benchmark.
Claro que a gente tá no round 7, os caras já estão colocando o resultado ali embaixo.
Didn't really matter that much.
Abaixo dos pontos de... Tá tipo 7-1, 7-0, 6-1. Mas tudo bem, vamos fingir que não foi spoiler.
Let me think about it actually. Ponder? Ponder.
Holding Diabolic Edict.
Uma pausa aqui rapidinho. Um negócio.
Not responding immediately to the threat. Ponder.
Amigão, tem que achar bicho. True Name é a carta. True Name é lindo, mas... Agora com ele sendo agredido fica muito mais foda. E Delver é muito bom no deck do Josh Utter-Leyton nessa match. Muito melhor do que é, por exemplo, pro deck do Sukenik. Por questão de Death Shadows e tal. Gurmag.
I've been loving watching Jonathan play too. It's just been a pleasure as he's maneuvered his way through these matches. This match as well has been super fun to watch.
I also got the feeling it's not the first time that he's playing Legacy. You know what I mean?
You got that vibe? Yeah. I also got that. I don't think we have a draft specialist who just happened to pick up some underground seas here. By the way, Gurmag Angler now for Jonathan. So he now has the
Gurmagão da massa, o peixe tá na mesa. Só que assim, né? De novo, né? Eu já falei isso. Falando. A gente viu em outra match esse deck jogando e, tipo, contra Temur ele era muito bom. Por que isso, por que aquilo, e blá blá blá. Mas contra Death Shadow é completamente diferente. Apesar de que o Josh Utter-Leyton respeitou pra caralho. Tipo, falou, eu tomo 2-1 e tira esse negócio daqui. Até porque Gurmag... Tem o Death Shadow, o Gurmag meio que sai de tudo que o Josh Utter-Leyton tem.
On this kind of protect the queen strategy where he's like, I've got this threat, I'm just gonna keep it alive. And there's reanimate for Josh Utter-Leyton on the Gurmag angler.
E o Josh pegou o Gurmag pra ele. Aí é louco.
That's half his life total just disappearing. But look at this. He's got nearly lethal now, and all of a sudden Jonathan really needs some action. Ooh, how about a True Name Nemesis?
Yeah, True Name Nemesis. This is the definition of a tempo game playing out, right?
Yes.
It's not about card advantage. It's not about your land drops. It's just about threats and who can close out the game quicker than the opponent. Now, True Name Nemesis. This is the edict.
Esse Edito é muito bom, porque ele manda o Edito e ele sabe que o Delver que vai dançar. Não vai sobrar o Gurmag. E aí o True Name Nemesis vai construir um lindo espaço para ele.
But it was still correct not to sacrifice it, because
yes,
you need to keep your 2-turn clock on the battlefield.
Absolutely.
Tudo bem que pode ter uma guerra de counter ali, mas... Pra tá jogando assim, o Sukenik tá confiando que ele que vai ganhar essa guerra.
And it would have gone into Sukenik's graveyard, which could also be beneficial for him. That's not the main argument, of course, but True Name Nemesis it might be too late, because Utter-Leyton gets to untap, gets another land drop, might have counter magic once again.
Ooh, he just found another Diabolic Edict off of that shuffle.
This is a worthy round 7.
There's a Daze.
E toma assim.
That's not going to get the job done against the Edict, though.
And Sukenik has to Edict. That's what I was talking about. You cannot expect your True Name Nemesis to resolve, even though there have been a bunch of Dazes already. It's just too risky, I think. But if you can successfully Diabolic Edict this second threat by Utter-Leyton.
Death Shadow.
Oh,
there's Death Shadow. Yeah, it looks like he's got a few more cards in hand than we're seeing there.
E vai.
And suddenly the Edict is...
Bom, aí são duas cartas que dão letal. Aí o True Name já não faz muita coisa.
Here's the Edict. Is this just simply too late? It says here you can have your fish back. Well, it's a blocker.
It's a chump blocker. It can get dazed. Can get.
But what if he can
snuffed out?
Oh, he can just do that now, sure. Yeah, that should just.
Ele 10 na falta agora, ele tá jogando 0 em volta de 10. Esse é o ponto, ele pode jogar em volta de 10 à vontade. Aí eles mudaram o placar ali de baixo depois, pra não dar spoiler, mas... Não, e fica 7-0 aí, bom jogo desse trio, que tem vários jogadores fortes, mas... né? Para ganhando a partida, então 7-0, esse foi o 7º round do Pro Tour de 25 anos. A gente vai pro próximo vídeo, né? Você que estiver vendo no YouTube, já terá da 8ª rodada também. Beleza? Até mais.